Item 2.1, I will call the Paris Union High School District acting as the legislative body of the Community Facilities District 92-1 special board meeting to order at 2:32 p.m. Sorry, my pen wasn't working. I will ask for a roll call to determine quorum. Trustee Campos? Not here. Trustee Hall? Not here. Trustee Stafford?
Here.
Thank you. Trustee Anaya?
Here.
Thank you. Trustee Garcia and myself, here. We've established a quorum. Item 3.1, revision, adoption, ordering of agenda, August 12, 2026. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Trustee Stafford, is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Trustee Anaya. Any discussion?
None.
Any discussion? All right, please vote. This is where we need the Jeopardy music.
It's not doing anything.
Thank you. Now you see why I keep asking for music. It gets awkward. Is this, James, do you know if this is the software or if it's the servers? What's the delay?
Oh, this will be the servers on the back end, but in this case, I believe it's tied to locking those two out, so.
Thank you, sir. Okay, upon a vote being taken, the vote was 3 in favor and 2 absent. Item 4.1, invitation to address the Board of Trustees on agendized items. Are there any public comments on the agendized items?
No public comments.
Thank you. Item 5.1, staff presentation, Haven Project. Dr. Williams and Mrs. Gruber will give a presentation. Did I say your last name right? Gruber, I apologize. Thank you for the correction.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So Lynn and I will be tag teaming this. So good afternoon, members of the Appeal Board. Today's hearing concerns an appeal filed by GR 134, the Haven Project, and that falls under the Community of Facilities District 92-1. This particular development, the Haven Project that we're bringing before you tonight, this afternoon, consists of 67 parcels. Each parcel includes 1 detached single-family resident and 1 detached accessory dwelling unit, resulting in a total of 134 residential units. This matter originated from January 20th of 2026 with an inquiry from the Haven Project representatives regarding the dwelling units located at that property. So our CFD administrator, Lynn Gruber, determined that the special tax is applied on a per unit basis and that detached residential units are subject to single-family detached rate. That determination ultimately resulted in today's meeting, the appeal for the board. So the board's role is limited to determine whether the CFD administrator correctly applied the existing RMA when classifying the Haven Project for special tax purposes. So the CFD administrator will cover the next few slides, but just before we move on, I just want to reiterate again that the appellant seek to have the Haven Project classified as a multifamily for rent rather than a single-family detached. The appellant's position is based primarily on 3 characteristics of the development. Each parcel contains 2 rentable dwellings. All of the homes are intended to operate as a single rental community, and the project will remain under common ownership. So at this time, I'm going to have Lynn come up, and she's going to share the next few slides.
Actually, let's let the appellant speak first, because then there's going to be a rebuttal after Lynn does her thing.
Okay.
So the appellant goes first.
Okay. So we're going to allow the pellet to come up first and share, and then we will come back to the podium. So at this time, President Garcia, we're going to ask the appellant to come forward.
Are you good with that?
It's however you would like it done, because you're the audience today.
That's fine, proceed. Thank you.
So if this is your preference, I'm happy to do it this way.
We'll make it work. Thank you.
Okay, well, trustees of the Board of Trustees of the Paris Union High School District, my name is Robert Ward. I am a litigation partner at the law firm of Schartz's Fries, and I am here on behalf of our client, Bright Sky Residential, who is the owner of the appellant here, which is a subsidiary of Bright Sky. And I want to thank the board, the appellate board, because you're sitting as a board of appeals here. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to be heard on this issue, which is of importance to our client. I'd also like to thank staff for the work that they have put into this in getting it teed up for your decision here today. And I also I have to say on behalf of my client, Bright Sky, thank you for leading a school district into which they are going to build a quality residential rental community. So thank you for doing that. You probably feel like you're underappreciated and oft criticized, and I want you to know that my client has your respect and appreciation. And Bright Sky's business model is to deliver residential units that are rentable into California. And because of that, Bright Sky's business model aligns with an important public policy that is very real and alive today in this state, which is we need more housing stock. We need more rental units available for people. And Bright Sky is saddened that in discharging this business model, they find themselves in a controversy with the high school district for one of their communities. And it's unfortunate, but that's why we're here. I do want to acknowledge that it is your duty as the trustees, as well as the duty of the staff, to maximize the revenue for your district. Schools aren't free, they're costly. So I assume that the decisions that have been made, while they are legally incorrect, the staff's recommendation, as I will explain to you, is legally incorrect. I do acknowledge it is made with the best of intentions, but I don't want a decision made with the best of intentions lead the school district into litigation. That's why I'm here. If we have to file a petition for a writ of mandate on behalf of Bright Sky, it's going to be my name at the top of the petition in Riverside County. And both my client and myself would really rather not do that. I'd really rather talk you today into choosing the correct rate to apply to this project. And I will acknowledge that it's not an insubstantial amount of money at stake here. It's $23,000 a year that'll grow by 2% for 40 years. So we're talking about a significant amount of money. But having to litigate this will also cost the district a significant amount of money. You'll spend the first few years' worth trying to see through this appeal and how it will play out in the courts. And because of the way my client is positioned, you may think, well, why would Bright Sky want to litigate over $23,000 a year? Well, the answer is that Bright Sky's business model is being battle tested right now across different jurisdictions. And for Bright Sky to let this slide is a bad precedent for Bright Sky. So Bright Sky is motivated to fight this beyond the dollars that are involved only for the Paris Union High School District. And the other thing that we have to acknowledge here, and I think staff has done a fair job of pointing this out, is that we are dealing with a rate and method agreement that is not a model of clarity. It does not address this situation. The type of units that exist in the Haven project are not something that was within the contemplation of whoever drafted the rate and method agreement. And that's not unusual in the law, and it's not unusual for people in a legislative body as you're sitting today to have to deal with something that's outdated and outmoded, and you have to do the best you can. And one of the things you have to do is live with the language of what was drafted. until it gets amended. And hopefully someday it does get amended and catch up with the times. But right now you have to live with a rate and method agreement that gives you only 3 choices. Would it were so that you had 5 or 6 choices and you could find one that better suits this particular project, but you got just 3. And the district's position that this should be assessed for school district purposes as single-family detached, it just can't apply on the face of the RMA. That's defined in the RFA as an assessor's parcel, one parcel containing a single dwelling. The Haven project parcels contain 2 dwellings in each. On the face of it, you can't apply it because a single is not 2. 1 is not 2. Meanwhile, the rate that my client advocates for, multifamily rental, is the only rent that actually can apply based on the plain language of the agreement. Because 2 is multi, 2 is more than 1. Multifamily, 2, that's enough, and it's for rent. These are rentals. So if you look at the face of the RMA, the best choice you have is for multifamily rent, for rent. And the plain language is simply against the district's position here. And I will tell you that, I would never, ever presume to tell an educator how to go about their work, and I have the deepest appreciation for them. And I'm someone who actually looks at my property tax bill, and when I see SRV USD on it, the San Ramon Valley Unified School District, where 2 of my children graduated from, I look at that and I know that's money well spent. But one thing I can tell you is I, for a living, am in front of judges. And I can tell you that judges like plain language. If they can look at a contract, or they can look at agreement, or they can look at legislation and they can say, 2's not 1, 2 can be multi, and these are for rent, a judge is likely to go in that direction. And so I also want to thank Dr. Williams because her presentation, which I think you'll probably see more of after I speak, is going to make a very important point for you, which is that the RMA predates the most recent legislation in this state, much of which is only 2-3 years old, on ADUs, accessory dwelling units. ADUs are a preferred land use in California. It's been said that they are a uniquely favored status. And why is that? It aligns with that
Can you say what ADU means one more time, please?
accessory dwelling unit.
Thank you.
Now, I didn't know what that meant when I first heard it. I think the rest of us would probably think in-law unit, I went to college at Berkeley, and so many lots in Berkeley have that cottage sitting in the backyard. I lived in one of them for a while. And so that's what ADUs are. And the idea behind them is that they're supposed to provide additional housing, and the state mandates that it cannot count against your density requirement. Even if you have a lot that allows only a certain amount of construction on it, you're allowed to add the ADU. And there are many other favored status indicators in the law based on all of the legislation, most of which dates to 24 and 25. State law says that ADUs have to be approved quickly. Impact fees that are assessed by the regulators who approve the land use entitlements, impact fees have to be waived unless the ADU is beyond a certain size. And if the ADU is beyond 800 square feet or 850, I can't remember which of the two it is, the impact fees have to be scaled. They have to be proportional. So you can't assess an ADU for purposes of land use impact fees at the same rate you would a single-family dwelling. You're not allowed to do that. And functionally, what the school district is doing here is the same thing. You're assessing that same amount, that same rate on both the single-family dwelling and the much smaller ADU. So not only are you going to have a plain language problem with a judge, you're going to have a public policy problem in that you're running right into the face of the ADU legislation that has been adopted in the state. And so I'm here to urge that, something that you shouldn't do. Let me just conclude by a few notes on, again, from my world, appearing in front of a judge, how judges are going to look at this. I've talked to you about how plain language matters. I do commend staff for at least taking a really good crack at trying to write an opposition brief, but it doesn't really address the authorities we cite therein. The Equinix case is really, really important. It's compelling authority. And what it says is that if you have ambiguity in a taxing enabling document, which is what the RMA is, ambiguities have to be construed in favor of the taxpayer. And if you think about it, that's fair. You don't want ambiguities construed in favor of taxation that isn't obvious on the face of the agreement. And what the opposition attempts to do is say it was in a different regulatory context. But what judges look for is they hunger for the most analogous authority that they can find that they can apply to the situation. And even if you were to succeed in distinguishing those cases somehow with the judge, then you're back to the plain language of the RMA. And that plain language says multifamily for rent versus single family detached. And you're dealing with two units, multi, that are for rent. So I'm happy to answer any other questions for the panel here. I do thank the trustees for your time and attention to this, and hope that I can convince you not to make the decision that is recommended by staff.
Okay, yes, I do have questions, but before I have questions, Board of Trustees?
I do have a question. We have existing ADUs in our district now. I'm sure everybody's aware of that. How does this affect those units?
Well, it's an excellent question, but the simple answer is it doesn't. One of the authorities we cited in our appellant brief is that when a new ratepayer or a new taxpayer comes to a situation, they are not bound by incorrect decisions that may have been made by the taxing authority in the past. So I'm not here to advocate for any changes to be made to what has been done in the past. I am only here to advocate to get it right for this project.
Thank you. That's it.
Trustee Anaya? I have a couple of questions. How big are the parcels? And then also, how big are each dwelling on the property? And what makes it, I know I have a bunch of questions. Well, how about go there? Go there first.
First answer is I don't know. I can't give you square footage, but the idea is that these are single family. I believe they're three bedroom residences. And then the ADU is something in the neighborhood of, it's like an in-law unit. It's around 800 square feet. I don't know if it's more than 800 or less than 800, but it's going to be between 750 and 850 square feet. And keep in mind, this is part of a larger, part of why this feels so much like a rental community is there are common amenities that go as well. So a lot of the things you would have in an apartment project, you have for this community.
Right. Okay. And then another question, you keep mentioning it's the law. Can you cite the law, or do you have a documentation to provide what law that would be? That we're looking at the size of the second parcel in particular, or as you're calling the in-law house?
Well, they're the most recently codified provisions in the government code from 2025. There were 3 state bills passed that year. I don't have the government code sites off the top of my head, but they've been recently codified into the government code. And that's where you find the law that says you have to waive impact fees for ADUs that are under 800 square feet. You have to have them be proportionate if they're more than 800 square feet. And then also in terms of the law, we did provide in our briefing the Equinix case, the Keene case, the cases that set the framework for how a judge is going to look at this situation.
I appreciate the case law, but you don't have any government code handy?
I could provide them if I went back and pulled them up from my authorities, so I can probably do that by the time staff finish their remarks.
Could you do that, please?
Yeah, I will absolutely.
I would appreciate it, because I think it's only fair to hear all sides.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
Is there any possibility we could have some visual of the project? I'm picturing it in my mind. Is this ADU 5 feet from the home, or how close is it to the home?
That's been my question. I don't have a visual for you, a mock-up for you. They're not like I would traditionally think of an in-law unit, which is that you have sort of the single-family unit out front and then the ADUs tucked in behind. There is separate entrance for them, but I myself am struggling as to what this will look like when it's done.
Yes, I'm concerned particularly fire codes and different things. I'm sure you meet all those. You must if you're going to construct, but
Absolutely. Because this is a relatively new business model to develop in this fashion, it was subjected to, let's just say, a fairly strict amount of scrutiny by the land use authorities, by the planning commission and the planning.
is there a possibility we could see that? A
I
visual?
think those entitlements
Oh,
are all something
okay.
that Dr. Williams can probably get for you.
Okay.
And it's probably a worthy thing for you to look into.
Okay.
I think I might have missed something here. Are you saying the properties are not completed yet?
I don't believe they are they? We can answer those questions. I mean, I know they're supposed to be coming online, but I don't know if the community's.
Hold on one second. And you haven't seen the property itself even flat before construction or any of the ongoing construction?
Not me. I was not able to make it to Menifee before today's hearing.
So you don't have images of ongoing process of the site construction?
We could provide those. I just don't know at what state it is in currently right now.
I would ask that you work on that while they're speaking, please.
You have it.
Yeah, I want any and all information, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else? Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Dr. Williams?
So we're going to have Lynn go ahead and come up, and she'll be able to answer some of the questions.
Sure. Do you want to go ahead and pull up the presentation again? Do you want me to answer some of the questions that you had for Mr. Ward, or shall we wait? Okay, we'll go through the presentation, then we'll come back to some of those questions, and I may be able to answer them spontaneously through the presentation.
All right.
Okay, so, as has been said, CFD 92-1 was approved by the registered voters in 1992. It primarily covers the Menifee area. The rate and method of apportionment is the document that governs 92-1. As has been said already, the board's decision must be based on the interpretation of that rate and method of apportionment, or RMA. The RMA does predate the California's ADU legislation, and the ADU legislation is still evolving. We have gotten new laws even this year, including, and was talked about, the impact fees. Well, certain impact fees are exempt. School fees are not exempt. School fees are charged based on a square footage basis, and they would be charged on any ADU that is 500 square feet or more. The ADUs in this project range from 749 square feet to 1,200 square feet, and they're 2 to 3 bedrooms. So they're fairly substantial ADUs. Sure.
Can you repeat those numbers one more time in square footage?
749 square feet to 1,200 square feet, 2 and 3 bedroom with, it looks like a single car garage.
For the second ADU?
This is for the ADU, the granny flat or accessory dwelling unit in-law suite.
How big are the primary houses, the dwellings?
They range, I can't remember the low end. I believe it's 1,220 to 18-something square feet.
Thank you.
And the lot sizes are about 7,000 square feet, so a typical single-family residential lot size. The RMA, as shown on the slide, has 3 rate categories that are applicable to new units built within the CFD. Multifamily for rent, in parentheses, is not defined in the RMA, though apartment is defined. An apartment is defined as a dwelling unit within a building or buildings comprised of attached residential units for rent to the general public. Our interpretation is that apartment is the equivalent of multifamily for rent and is used in the RMA to distinguish detached from attached rental units. The next category is single-family attached. Single-family attached is an accessory parcel which contains a condominium or structure or structures where 2 or more units share a common wall. And then single-family detached, which means accessory excessive parcel of developing property which contains a single dwelling structure. But because ADUs are not expressly addressed in the RMA, we as the CFD administrator, along with legal counsel and your financial advisor, Fieldman Rolap, reviewed the language and the structure of the rate and method of apportionment, together with its historical administration. And rather than relying on whether the units are rented, the interpretation distinguishes detached residential structures from attached residential structures. Under our interpretation, the presence of a detached ADU does not convert detached residential structures into multifamily rental development, which is consistent with the city zoning of the Haven project as low-density residential single-family. The next slide shows the different rates. The multifamily rate is $174.92. The single-family detached rate, is twice that at $394. So basically, multifamily is half of the amount of a single-family detached unit. The current rates applied to all 134 units proposed in the Haven project is, again, as Mr. Ward said, about $23,000 annually. That increases 2% per year, and this tax goes for 40 years. So as a result, the classification determination through this appeal also has a long-term effect on CFD revenues, as well as impact on future developments. And while the financial impact does not determine the classification, it does illustrate why it's important to be consistent in the application of the governing RMA. Again, the CFD administrator, us, district's legal counsel, financial advisor recommend denying the appeal and maintaining the single-family detached classifications for the units in the Haven project. That recommendation, we feel, is supported by the RMA's terminology and the manner in which comparable properties have historically been administered in the CFD. As you asked before, there are approximately 14 lots that do contain 2 single-family residential units that have already been taxed as single-family detached rate for each unit. By contrast, the multifamily for rent has historically been applied to rental units with attached walls, such as those located in apartment buildings. The appellant's proposed rental operation does not alter the detached physical characteristics of the residences. Ownerships, arrangements, and rental business models can change over time, including the possibility that these might be sold in the future, either as single units or as a unit with an ADU attached on the same property. So maintaining the existing interpretation also promotes the consistency of the treatment of similarly situated parcels throughout the CFD. Changing the interpretation for this project could affect the classification for existing properties or future developments containing multiple detached residential units, or a person coming in and asking for an ADU on their property and saying because they're going to rent it out, it's now multifamily. And could reduce future revenues available to support your school facilities. For these reasons, we believe the classification of single-family detached rate for each unit on the parcel is consistent with the RMA. And thank you for your attention to this matter, and I'm happy to answer questions and let Dr. Williams finish up.
Mr. Stafford, do you have any questions?
Not at this time, no.
Trustee Anaya? Go ahead, Dr. Williams.
So thank you, Lynn, for that presentation of slides. So I just want to let the appeal board know that there are three paths before you this afternoon. The first one is to deny the appeal, which staff and legal counsel is recommending. 2, to grant the appeal, which is not recommended. And 3 is to continue this matter and request more information and consultation with our legal staff as well.
Can you repeat that last one more time, please? No problem.
So we're going to bring up Stan from OHH. He is our legal counsel for the district.
I just want to raise a couple of points to address what the appellant's counsel had said. First, he talks about, you know, the plain language of the RMA saying 2 units on a parcel, 2 dwellings, but he also acknowledges that it's a single-family home and an ADU. And an ADU is a different type of animal that didn't exist at the time the RMA was approved and defined. We are in a novel situation. There is no case law. There is no guidance document. You are the tip of the spear when it comes to this issue because, as I mentioned, the ADUs did not exist. However, the problem with the public policy issue about this is very problematic if you were to grant the appeal and label it as multifamily because, as Lynn had mentioned, any property owner that has a single-family dwelling can show up and throw an ADU on it and get it classified as multifamily. That would gut the CFD. That would be allowing the public to do gamesmanship and tax evasion as opposed to interpreting the RMA in favor, that's something that's ambiguous in favor of the taxpayer. That was not the intent of the RMA. The RMA was intended to tax at a certain rate that everyone approved for single-family homes. And if you have 2 single-family dwellings on a lot, that's what you get charged. If you're multifamily, you get charged that. If you're single-family attached, you get charged that classification. So this would be very bad public policy to accept this appeal. Thanks. And now at this point, we're gonna, I'm sorry, if you have questions.
I just want clarity. I know I heard you, but I want to make sure I heard correctly. So you're saying there's already established rates that outline what we're dealing with on the property?
Yes, you have, that's the 3, well, the slide's not up there anymore, but there's the 3 classifications that we're dealing with, the single-family detached classification, the single-family attached, and then the multifamily paren rental. Those are the 3 classifications for tax that we're dealing with. And of course, the single-family residence one is the highest of the tax, and then it goes down from there. And I believe the multifamily is like half the cost. Yeah, okay, and yeah, you have the dollar figures up there.
And then, can I ask this gentleman a question? I
When
apologize.
I would appreciate it if you just finish with me, then, because council's gonna get a chance to do a 5-minute rebuttal, and you can ask them questions after that.
Okay, so from your perspective, they only want to rent these properties, they'll be the primary owner, and they're not going to put those homes for sale,
There's no guarantee of that.
and that's, okay.
There's
I
no
think you answered
guarantee
my
of a
next
rental.
question,
There's
because
no-
I did
there's-
hear the language that they could change the policy. Did I hear that correctly?
They could change it from, they could remove the rental tomorrow. There's nothing that cements them into rental properties like an apartment building would be. They could turn around the next day and say, you know what, we're not renting these anymore, we're gonna offer these for sale, to individual sale, and get around the rent requirement. The city had confirmed with us that there is no binding restriction on them to make these rental properties.
Okay. Any more questions, Board of Trustees?
No.
Thank you, sir.
And then I'll turn it over to counsel for his rebuttal.
Yes, please.
If I may,
Of course,
bring my trusty tool up here,
of course,
because I'm here to answer your questions.
please.
First, I just want to correct something. The city of Menifee approved this project as a purpose-built, single-family, build-to-rent rental community. So while it is true that Bright Sky could later seek to change that entitlement, and there's nothing in the zoning in Menifee that would prevent that, as it's currently entitled, it is a rental community.
Do you have the item number and the date that the city of Menifee passed that?
I don't. I'm relying on Google here. And, oh, hang on a second. Let's see. Processed and cleared through Menifee Community Development. It's tract map number 38776 and plot plan PLN 230247. And so anyway, that's where I think you would find these entitlements. One thing I wanted to do was answer Trustee Stafford's question. I found an artist rendering. I have it on my laptop. I don't know if maybe I can show.
It's attached.
We found it.
Oh, it's in there. Okay, so you've got it. So the answer is it's sort of side by side.
I can see it, yeah.
And then the other thing I wanted to do was answer Trustee Garcia's questions about the specific code sections. And the government code sections begin at Government Code Section 66310. And I think it's important to note the language that where the legislature declared that ADUs are a valuable form of housing in California. California faces a severe housing crisis, and that therefore these offer opportunities to get lower cost rental units into the market. And so it's found right there in the statute. And then I do want to say that staff is correct that the provision in the government code section found at 6631.5C1, which puts restrictions on local agencies, special districts, or water corporations from imposing impact fees, it doesn't apply to school districts. But you remember what I said earlier about what judges like to do? They like to find things that are analogous. While it doesn't apply to a school district, it'll be a guidepost for a judge. A judge is going to say, I don't quite understand why you can set a rate for an ADU at the same rate that you would for that single family, much larger dwelling on the property. So that's all I really have for you unless there are additional questions. I hope I answered the questions that you asked before, and I really would urge you. This is not a situation where you're going to be opening the floodgates to everyone throwing up ADUs in their backyard and somehow getting themselves assessed at lower rates. Those units, those houses that are owned by people, they're already being assessed at a rate. And that's not what our client is doing, and it's not what we're asking you to open the door to. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank-
I'm sorry, there was one more question that was asked.
Please.
What's the status of the project?
Can you come to the microphone?
Yes. Ground has been broken. It's mostly putting in the underground utilities at this point, what we'd call site work and construction. So as far as when these units will come online, there is no projected date at this time.
So at this time, I just want to go back and share the three paths before this appeal board is the denial of the appeal, which is being recommended, granting the appeal, which is not recommended, and continuing this matter for additional information. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. So we did 5.3, the appellant's rebuttal. Okay, I just want to be sure. So now we're on 6.1. Business consideration of formal appeal regarding application of special tax classification for the Haven project within Paris Union High School District Community Facilities District Number 92-1, CFD 92-1. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Trustee Stafford. Is there a second? Thank you, trustee Anaya. Any discussion?
No.
Trustee Anaya? I. Oh, okay, can I do my discussion? Okay. I wanted to say thank you, everyone, for coming out. I understand this takes a lot of time, a lot of research. I'm kind of bothered, sir, because I would expect you to have a little bit more information and case law and law. From my perspective, this is a very serious matter. This affects lives. Dollars always affects people's lives. And that's the area I'm bothered. And the main area, I wish you would have seen the property and could understand it a little bit more, because I really want to go look at it now myself. And I try to stay as neutral as possible, trying to keep a clear mind, clear conscience of how I'm going to go about this and receive all the information. And it's not to be negative on you. I think for anyone pleading any type of case, you want to come with sufficient proof, evidence. So I ask you, be aware of that and understand whatever decision we make today is we go back to our constituents to make sure it's the best for them as well. So, because this is going to affect our students. So that is me on consideration. We have a motion, but we need direction. Is there a motion on direction? So we have the three options, which was, actually, Dr. Williams, can you repeat that one more time? On this one? Oh, these three right here?
Make a motion to deny the appeal, to grant the appeal, or continuing the matter. Those are the three motions.
Do you guys need time to, maybe a couple minutes to think about it before we proceed? Would it be fair to say 3 to 5 minutes, and then we come back? Yes. Okay, do you know what option you would like to recommend? Then we could vote on it? Well, we're still under discussion. Actually, can I ask you, sir? Can you come to the microphone?
134, and it's anticipated to be families. So, whatever the typical family size would be in Menifee, the ADUs would presumably be the smaller families, and the single-family dwellings would be the larger families. So 1, 2, or 3 people in the ADUs, and then, 3, 4, 5 people in the larger dwellings, I would assume. These are definitely intended to be marketed to families. I wouldn't expect to see a lot of, folks with no kids in them.
Thank you.
One thing that did concern me was the ownership. The fact that these are going to be owned by the same company, right, or same?
That is correct. Bright Sky intends to hold these and rent them. It will be an income-producing property for Bright Sky. So Bright Sky plans to remain a member of the community as an owner of a rental community.
Okay. I guess we thought the same guy was going to own the Lakers a couple of days ago, right? So,
My client has no interest in the Lakers. I don't think they could afford them.
I'm just saying, don't ignore that. Okay. All right. Like I said, some of my questions really don't, this project is going to go forward no matter what. The district is looking at what we need from this project to support the schools. So, I'm trying not to tell you my vote.
No, I'm not asking for that. I believe we have 3 options, and we have to pick one option. If you
Are
have
we
an
going to
option you
vote on a
recommend.
regular?
We'll vote on whatever option is presented before us first.
Okay, so we have the 3 options.
Trustee Anaya, do you have any comments or an opinion that you'd like to capture?
That's a third option, right?
No, no, no. We're the appellate.
Oh,
We're the,
Just to clarify, this is the appeal board for CDFD 92-1, not the entire general board.
okay.
So the decision would be made here, and the decision you're making is based on the rate and method for this property, how we're rating it, whether single-family or multifamily.
if I could just make the recommendation, I don't know if you guys are okay with that. I'll make a recommendation and you guys vote however you vote. I'm going to go with option one to determine that the Haven project should be classified as multifamily for rent pursuant the CFD 92-1 RMA. And I'm going to call for the vote.
I'm sorry, just for clarification, did you move to approve the appeal or deny the appeal? I didn't
Deny.
quite catch it.
Deny.
You have to make a motion.
So you want me to clarify? Can you repeat that one more time?
You have to make a motion, or a motion to grant and a motion to continue.
Copy that.
For absolute clarity, you have an appeal before you. So the appellant has come, they're asking you to grant the appeal, which would be to classify it as multifamily. Your other option is to deny the appeal and stay with the administrator's classification as single-family residence detached. Or if you're not ready to vote and you need more time to deliberate, you can continue the matter to another time.
I would like to make the motion to deny. Well, is there a second? Second. Okay. Write this down. Yeah, just, any discussion, since we have the first and a second? Okay, call for the vote. Yeah, yes. So we're denying the appeal. Would that be correct? Yes.
Correct.
And then if it's a yes, we're accepting their appeal to be a multifamily at that point.
No, you're just not approving that motion. It's not a flip-flop, because remember, you have three items. So if there's a motion right now to deny, if it fails, then another motion has to come forward to decide what happens next.
Yes.
Thank goodness you are legal.
Vote aye, then you are agreeing with the motion to deny the appeal.
Okay,
Clear? All right.
good.
Yes.
Okay, call for the vote. Item 6.1 passes, 3 yes. 2 absent don't count, right? Okay, so the motion is denied.
No, the motion passed.
So it passed, but, I'm sorry.
Which is to deny the appeal.
Hold on, let me take a break. Hold on. And a day. Okay, so the motion passes that this is denied. Okay. And now the next step is, trying to go off the agenda, y'all. To adjourn. Item 7.1, Paris Union High School District Legislative Body of the Community Facilities District Number 92-1, special meeting of August 12, 2026. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second? Thank you, Trustee Anaya. Any discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Item 7.1 passes for adjournment at 3 yes, 0 no's. This meeting is adjourned at 3:21 PM.